I'm surprised our gas prices haven't gone up yet.
I know, it's with that. Like, it seemed like 2 or 3 years ago, it looked like it was just going to keep going up and up forever. Then they pulled it back, but it's still higher than before. Then it goes up again, but then they pull it back, but it's still higher than before. And like,
well, to be fair, to credit our society, our country, and whatnot, we have some of the lowest gas prices in the world. For basically for any Western nation, they look at us like we have value meal gas. And like in Germany, they had $5 gas years ago, like way before the big influx of cost.
Our prices are artificially low, aren't they? Like,
yeah, it's like how Walmart charges less than they should to run the other guys out of business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the United States gets a tremendous amount of oil from numerous sources, which is one of the reasons why we can do it so well. Like, many people don't realize this, but our two largest suppliers of oil are Canada and Mexico. Yeah. It's not the Middle East is far down the list. Like, on the top 10, I think they're like number 7.
Don't we get a lot from Alaska, too?
Well, Alaska is the United States. We don't really get too much from them because they've been really trying to control the drilling we do offshore, which, I mean, is even now more important because of the events that just recently took place. But they've been trying to control how much drilling we do on our own shores because we'll pollute everywhere else in the world. We don't want to pollute our own backyard. And you can see the argument in that.
the whole thing's so insane because we don't need oil when you really get down to it, like how many suppressed technologies there are.
Yes, in the early 1900s, there was a race. It was a very famous race. Well, it was supposed to be famous, but they kind of gagged it, as they say. The Model T was beat by an electric car.
Right.
Yeah, they had an electric car back then, and it beat the Model T.
Yep.
But they pulled the plug on it because the Rockefellers were already into the Fords and the.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. They got a car that can run something like 400 miles on a gallon of water. Mm-hmm. I mean, a few simple modifications.
Solar power cars, just straight up batteries. Yeah, there's the hydrogen cell. There are a tremendous amount of technologies, but they were suppressed by big oil because they have more resources to provide for suppressing these things and to keep the other ones going. And now the federal government owns General Motors, so now if you make an electric car, you're actually competing with the United States government.
It's amazing.
That's a whole nother story about hatred.
The socialism that you're not a fan of, correct?
No, I'm not a big fan of it. And given how well the Obama administration and the previous ones have been on balancing the budget, you shouldn't be either.
Savage Rock School is a nonprofit teaching center dedicated to showing kids and adults how to rock. At Savage Rock School, you can learn a variety of different instruments, styles, and techniques to further your knowledge of music theory and application. And in Savage Rock School's Right Now recording studios, you can lay down up to 16 great tracks in full 24-bit resolution. The rates are low, the quality is high. Engineer and instructor Mike Britt will create a sound that's just right for you. Thanks to over 10 years of professional experience and a fabulous collection of state-of-the-art microphones and audio production equipment. Right Now Recording's flexible methods and philosophies can shape your sound just the way you want. Learn music and make music at Savage Rock School, located at 7 South Black Horse Pike at the intersection of Route 168 and Church Street in Blackwood, New Jersey. Search for Mike Brick on Facebook or call him at 856-217-4742. That's 856-217-4742.
I've heard a lot of people describe, socialism, the term itself is a bit outmoded at this point. It's more like a merger between corporations and the government. Like it's a new entity, if you will. Yeah. Something we haven't seen before exactly.
If you want to look about how socialism go terribly wrong, look at the German government. The way they have it so socialized right now that corporations they can actually legally buy out parliament members. Like, you can legally be on the books and oh yeah, I work for Volkswagen, and it's like, oh well, yeah, he's going to be paying voting for Volkswagen stuff. Okay, that's fine. And the church is a member of the government. Well, not a member of the government per se, but the church has a certain level of influence over politics, like legal influence, not just the backdoor one we have in our country.
Exactly. See, that's the type of democracy we need to bring to the Middle East.
America.
All right, so how long has it been since the oil spill started?
Mid-April.
April?
It's been April.
And it's still leaking right now.
Hemorrhaging.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's difficult to deal with an oil spill underwater because it's kind of hard to cap that. I mean, it's easier when you have it coming out of the ground because you can just blow up rocks and put it on top of it, and then you basically suppress it, or you can cover it with concrete. It's a lot harder to work where you're like, I don't know what it is, like 5 miles underwater. I forget what the depth is.
All right, here's all you got to do. You got to get a 5 mile long tube, 5 miles plus 100 foot, right?
All right, tell us, Kevin Costner.
And then, all right, so then here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get this tube, and we're gonna somehow cap the spill with that. So then it just starts gushing up this tube, and then it goes all the way up to the surface, and then we have this fucking tube with oil coming out of it, and then we just pour it onto a tanker, right? You know, big deal.
It's just amazing.
We don't have to cap it. We just got to reroute it.
A real important question at this point is, why does the federal government seem to be denying all attempts to clean this up or contain it? Like, I don't know if you guys heard about the Taiwanese ship. As soon as it happened, they sailed to the Gulf, and the Taiwanese have this tanker. It's capable of sucking up something like 500,000 gallons per day, or barrels maybe even. It's basically the biggest ship of that sort in the world. And the federal government told them to get lost.
Well, I'll be the first to admit I'm not exact. I heard a little bit of it, but I don't know all of the things, so I'm not exactly an expert. But the United States has always denied help from other countries because they don't want to seem weaker than they are.
Right.
I mean, we had that case where when Katrina hit, the Mexican government actually offered, I think, something like 5,000 troops to help make sure things were secured.
Yeah.
And if you looked at it, we did kind of need it, but they said no. During 9/11. Well, not during, but after the events of 9/11, NATO actually came together for the first time and offered aid to one of its members. It never happened before. It's never happened since. And once again, the United States government said we don't need it. When you're playing the role of the lone superpower in world politics, you don't want to seem that you need the help of other countries, because then people think that they can start actually bullying you as opposed to being bullied.
Sure. Britt, what are you directing my attention to? Hidden musical code found written into Plato's texts. That's startling.
Yeah, but it says here we got this. You can go to on PBS. They got this widget. It's the Gulf Oil Tracker.
Looks like we got a ticker.
And yeah, it'll tell you at the rate of like say 4 million gallons a day. Then it just keeps clicking. You know, we're at July 9th, and we got 303 million gallons leaked already. But then, like, they try to tell you that it's not as bad, and they change the information. So on the news, they'll try to tell you that it's only, say, like a 1.5 million gallons a day. But even still, that's 86 million gallons that has been leaked into the ocean already.
Actually, you know, this might be a blessing in disguise, because at this rate, we're going to end up completely just wasting that entire reserve in the Gulf, which is one of the largest oil stockpiles in the world. And if we just blow through that, we're going to have no choice but go to the electric car, because we won't be able to afford gas anymore.
And how hard is it to make a machine that simply extracts oil from salt water and makes fuel out of it? How hard would that be?
Oh, they're way beyond that. That's why they're so hesitant to do anything about it, because BP can easily separate. I mean, oil and water doesn't mix. The oil's still viable for them. They want to sell it.
Burns.
That's why they're not doing shit, because their goal is, you know, figure out this thing at some point, but most importantly, make sure that oil goes to them.
Actually, if you want a real laugh, there's this great story. Back in May, when this was still a new thing, before it even like overtook the Exxon Valdez spill, which it has since just completely just taken a dump on. But they were doing this thing that in Florida and Louisiana, they were going to zoos and they were shaving alpacas, because alpacas have very dense oil absorbent hair. Wow. And they were shaving these things because they have to get shaved anyway. It's summer months; they're going to get overheated. So they were shaving alpacas, and they were taking all the their fur and stuffing them into pantyhose and making these big sausage tubes of hair. And they were sending them to the Gulf Coast, because you stick them in oil, it sucks up all the oil until it becomes like this big swollen oil sausage. And the federal government said that they're weary of taking it. And I think since then they've actually started using it. But at first they were weary of taking these big hair sausages for the unseen effects they might have on the environment.
Well, yeah.
Yes, because hair is going to do more damage than oil.
That's part of the mockery. You know, they always like to just completely twist logic and then throw it back in your face.
Well, look, I know we got a lot of birds covered with oil falling out of the sky, but what if one of those birds chokes on their hair? We can't have that.
Everything is dying. It's either dying or dead. They can't fix this. Everybody, we got to get out of this pissing match and get everybody on the same page. If that doesn't happen, This is gonna